Lesson 4.10, Feature Writing, Writing the Feature Lead. So at this point in your process, you should have most of your article finished. You should have your nut graph that has the who, what, and where, why, and how. You should have your transitions going in to each one of your. So as you can see here, we have most of this done here. So the thing that we need is a strong opening paragraph, which on a feature story we call a feature lead. We save the feature lead for the end, for the very last thing we do, because it needs to be the most powerful part, and it needs to kind of bring everything together. Here's the deal: a lot of times when you've had to write an intro for something, it's been for like an essay for class, and your teacher is your audience, and they're the only one who reads it. And a lot of what this ends up causing is a really bad lead, because you know that they have to read it and give you a grade. So it's an afterthought. In journalism, we have a very different situation. Nobody has to read what you write. In fact, our assumption is that we have to make them care. So if we don't have a good intro, if we don't leave them with some questions that they want answered so they can read on, if we don't draw them in, then they don't care and they're not going to read it. And the thing that could happen is you do all this work and then write something that two sentences and people bail on you did a lame intro. So you want to spend some time really cleaning out some different version feature leads, picking one that you like the best. There are actually a lot of different ways to do a feature lead. There's different versions of them. There's what you should do and shouldn't do. For this video, I'm just gonna talk a most common way to do it, the easiest way to do it. This doesn't mean it's the only way, but I'm gonna show you how to create a feature lead that sets a scene, that sets a tone, and leaves your audience wanting to know more. Let's start by looking at a really good feature lead. This, in 2018, one of the most viewed articles on Sports Illustrated, and one of the most read articles. So it obviously did something right. Now, it's an important story. It's about LeBron James deciding where he's going to go after leaving England and deciding to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. But the very first paragraph is a great example of the kind of feature lead I'm talking about. The kind of has a lot of description, that if you closed your eyes, you could almost picture it. It really describes a little scene, a dramatic scene that sets the tone for the rest of the article and makes you want to know more. So let's look at it. The first paragraph says, 3 days after he lost the NBA for the 6th time, LeBron James underwent a root canal. For 72 hours, he sat alone in his Ohio mansion, wife and 3 children away at an out-of-town AAU unit, flanked only by a chef preparing meals he wasn't able to eat. As he recovered from one root canal, he pondered another, more painful and stubborn. The Warriors, as usual, gave him something to chew on. Great imagery. This article is not about LeBron James getting a root canal now, but that little story or image, that true story or image, sets the tone for this really hard decision and this really uncomfortable thing that LeBron went through by getting beat in the finals so many times, where he is done with it and he's ready for something new. And it's set a picture of someone thinking and deciding and going through something hard and frustrating. And that's the perfect tone for the article. And if you notice, all it really did was describe a little scene. So let's go back to sample article. We know what is unusual about this story. The story that we're working on here is about a 10-year-old that is a sophomore in high school. And we give all the information in the second paragraph here, and then in the nut graph, and we have plenty of quotes about it, but we need to set the scene. We need to tell a little story, describe a little moment that's maybe dramatic from the students that really paints a picture for our audience. So if you remember on the last video, there was one last quote about backpack being too big that I couldn't really find a place for in the article, when I said I'm going to use for something else. Well, here's where I'm going to use it. That image really stuck in my head. In the quote she said her backpack is so big on her because she's small that she felt like she was going to tip over. And that image is the picture I want to paint for my audience to draw in. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to write a feature lead, and then I'll pop it up on here at the top. Before we look at this lead, I do want to explain the process. You should always write more than one version of feature lead. I usually say, okay, come up with that three different ways to start your article. 3 descriptions, 3 different things. I did this and I picked my favorite one, which is the scene that mentions the backpack, and I did some versions of this, but this is my favorite. Notice I'm going to use description. I'm going to describe a scene. Notice not going to directly to the audience. A mistake a lot of people make is they use you. They say you do this, you see that. It's very easy to fix that. Just change that you to a he, she, or they, and it works the same way. So we don't want to directly address the audience because that's a little weird and makes them uncomfortable. So let's read the scene and see if it leaves you wanting to know more. At least a foot shorter than everyone else, a young girl walks the hallways of the building. People stop and stare, with both their lockers and their mouths hanging open. To them, it seems like a child is lost and at the wrong school. They watch her struggle under the weight of what looks like a huge backpack on her. She looks like she's about to tip over, and then she makes a sudden left turn and sits down in her soft English class. The idea with this feature lead is that you could close your eyes and picture it like a scene in a movie. If you can find that surprising or dramatic moment in the article you're writing about, if you can create a scene for your audience that makes them say, wait, what is happening here? I want more. Then you have drawn them in and want to know. So the small young girl that looks she's lost, be a child in the wrong school, being overwhelmed by her backpack, and all of a sudden she sits down in her sophomore English class. What is going on? And the following paragraph, the nut graph, tells you exactly what's going on and get information. And there the story unfolds and tells us exactly what's happening. So your challenge on your article is to come up with maybe 3 different versions of ways you could start it and really work with it. And the reason I say 3 versions is because usually your first idea is not necessarily your best idea. Your first idea maybe springs to something else. So if you have three options, you can kind of try out and see that. Don't skip that. Really take the time to give yourself 3 good options, because you might think you struck gold on the first one, but this is actually my 3rd idea. My 3rd version of the lead, and it was my favorite. So make sure you're giving yourself a chance to start the article in a different way. Think about how your audience will respond. Once you have your lead in place, and you have your nut graph, and you have transition quote formula throughout the rest of the article, and you end in a really strong quote, your feature article is ready to be edited for style, and it is done.